Okay, Jupiter. I have to write it out, but I want you to sketch the sketches. Jupiter's like in, what? 8th grade. A little older than Monique. 14 maybe. 13. He's 13. Yeah. That's what he is. 13, brownish, light brown hair, green eyes. And he moved to Florida with his family. All of a sudden his parents decided that they had to that they had to move. All of a sudden, so now he lives in California. I mean, he moved to Florida, and he's starting in a new school, in a new state. He has no friends. He doesn't know anybody. And the first person to befriend him is a boy named Fred. And Fred was a very funny and charismatic kid, but always a loner, because he was so smart and so different, as usual. Those are the loners, but he and Jupiter shared the same sick sense of humor and a love of horror movies, especially vampire movies. So they became fast friends, and it was as if they'd known each other their whole lives. And they were inseparable from the time they met. So the two would do everything together, and they studied together, and they'd hang out at each other's houses, but their favorite thing was to go to horror movies together. And one day they saw these flyers all around town that this new vampire movie was out, and it was so scary that some people had actually died from being so scared, like they were scared to death, literally. And of course they knew it was a rumor, but it gave it this certain atmosphere, so they really wanted to go. But they knew that if they asked their parents if they could go, that the answer would be no. So they decided for the first time in their lives to actually lie to their parents and say that they were spending the night at each other's houses on Friday night and make the big cover-up, and that they would go to the movies on their bikes. So Friday comes around, and after school, they ride to their prospective houses, and they say, okay, I'm going over to Fred's. Okay, I'm going over to Jupiter's. Okay, honey, have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay. And they had made arrangements with their parents saying, we'll be camping out in the backyard, so we won't be able to talk on the phone because we're going to be camping, with the tent. Because they like to do that. They like to camp out in the backyard with their tent and stuff. And they never wanted to be disturbed because they wanted to pretend they were out in the woods. So the parents both understood. All the parents understood. And they rode their bikes to the movie theater. Now halfway to the movie theater, they stop on the side and they pull out their backpack. And in their backpacks they had their vampire gear, because to this movie everyone's been dressing up, sort of like Rocky Horror Picture Show. Everybody gets all dressed up like vampires and then goes. So they put on their capes and their fangs and their, everything. And they had their fake blood. They were really excited, and they glow in the dark fangs, and did some glow-in-the-dark nails and stuff. And black lipstick and black toenail polish. And they get all done up, and then they get back on their bikes, ride to the theater, and lock their bikes out front, and go up and buy their tickets. And then they go inside. Once they get inside the theater and they see everybody's dressed up, there's just so many people, and everybody's really excited. You can feel it in the air. Everyone's really excited about this, because nothing like this has come to this small town, and everyone's all decked out. So they go and sit in the theater, and the place is packed, and the only seats left are in the front row, the very front row. And there's exit doors right by the, they're right up front, right in front of the screen. Yeah. Crane their neck to see it, and the exit doors are right there. But they don't care. So they sit there, and they're talking, and then the lights go down. The movie's about to start. And they get all excited, and they get ready. And the music comes on, and it's really scary, spooky music, and it's And then the story starts. It's the story of a young girl and a young man, and they're going, classic European vampire movie, and they're going on their honeymoon or something, and they're out in the inn, and when it's nighttime, all the innkeepers and everyone say, "Don't go outside, don't go out there, you can't leave the inn at night." And they say, "That's ridiculous. Why would you say something so ridiculous?" And all the people in the bar, in the pub, and they get silent and they look into their beers and stuff. So of course the young couple, foreigners, of course, leave and get in this mysterious carriage, black carriage with big black horses. They get taken somewhere in the woods, and then, just all this stuff. It's just like the old things. But then the vampire shows up. And for some reason, it's the most real, scary vampire they've ever seen in any movie. And they just are like, and everything that happens, they're like, and they're grabbing each other. You can hear the whole audience going, ah! Everybody's terrified. And then, halfway through the movie, they hear something. The two boys. And it sounds like cries and muffled screams and sucking sounds, and they're already so scared, and they turn around like this, and right behind them one person is sucking on the other. And they look forward and they're like, "Oh my God, people are like acting this stuff out. They're so caught up in it, And then this flash of lightning happens on the screen, and everybody jumps in the back, and then screams start. And the boys turn around really fast, and this all happens in a split second. Turn around really fast, and they see actual, people's necks are bloody, and they see some people are jumping on other people, and it looks really wicked. And the lightning is flashing on the screen, and so it's lighting up the whole place, and they're turning around, and somebody besides them starts to grab them, and they see fangs, and it just freaks them out and scares them so much. They're like perverts or something, They jump up and they run to the exit door, and they open the door, and they look back just for a second, and what they see just curdles their blood. They're like, everyone, it's just mayhem. And it looks real. It looks to them like people are really getting killed, and they leave, and they're freaking out. Their little hearts, they're only 13, their little hearts are pounding. And they are actually terrified and thinking that they're going to have a heart attack because they're so scared. And they run across the street, and they run up the stairs on the fire escape on the building across there, and they get way up at the top of the fire escape on that grating, and they lay down, and they just look out. They look at the door, the exit door, and they're trying to keep low. And a couple of people come out, and they're looking, they open the door, and they're looking, and they're looking. And it looks like they're looking for them. And they even look up, but they don't see them. But they're looking right up where they are. And they're little, they're just terrified. And they're trying not to even breathe. They're afraid they're going to hear them. And then the door closes, and the screams subside. And they stay there till morning. And they wake up when the sun hits their face. And they look at each other. And they go down to their bikes. But first they go into the theater, and they want to see what happened last night. But the theater's locked. So they go ride their bikes home to their houses. And each one goes to their house. And on the news is something about mysterious deaths at the theater. And so each boy freaks out and tells his parents what happened. So first Fred tells his parents. They go together to tell the parents. Fred goes to his parents and tells them what happened. And they're white people, and they're just like, why do you make up stories like this? Your imagination, we told you not to go to horror movies, and why are you doing the classic, you need to you know what, no more horror movies for you, no more scary books, you're going to stick to Batman and Robin and the classics, that's it. That's as hardcore as you get. he's like, no, you have to believe me. It's like, and we don't know if they saw us and if they can finger us or what. And they don't believe him. And they ground him for lying. And then Jupiter goes to his parents. And he tells them and his little brother what happened. See, his little brother about 8. And when he's done telling the story to his parents, they just look at him for a few minutes. And they take a big breath and they get up and they go, okay, everybody pack their bags and we're leaving. They say, and the kids are going, what? What are you talking about? Don't ask any questions. Get in your rooms, pack your bags, get everything together right now. Everything that's important to you, put it in the car. We're leaving right now. And they had this like Suburban that could handle stuff like that. And they had trained their boys to pack in an emergency and pack quickly. And they're like, I don't understand what you mean. And they say, right now I'm moving. They pack up the whole group and it takes about 15 minutes. They said, we have 15 minutes and we're leaving. And they get them in the car and they start driving. And they stop at Fred's house. And the parents go into Fred's house and they say, if you value your life, you need to leave town right now because they have probably seen the kids and they probably will find us and find them because they know they've seen them. And we have to go. And Fred's parents think they're out of their minds and they're like, you're absolutely crazy and our son's not going anywhere and leave our house before we call the police. And so Jupiter's mom and dad write down the phone numbers, their cell phone numbers, and they say to Fred, secretly, you call us. If anything happens, you call us immediately. And we will come get you or we will send for you. And you make sure that if anything strange happens, you call us immediately. And he knew that they were right and he knew they were serious because he could see it in their eyes that they were not fucking around. So he took the numbers and he sadly watched them go. And Jupiter hugged his friend and got in the car. And they drove away. And they drove for 2 days until they got to New York. And meanwhile, Fred had to stay home. And when he was at school, he was hearing all the buzz about all that had gone on. A lot of people had disappeared mysteriously. And he wanted to, he got home after school and went to bed. And then that night, he heard strange noises in his house. And he feared the worst, so he snuck out of his bed. And he snuck down the hallway. And he got a knife out of the drawer in the kitchen. And he went to his parents' room to check on them. And the window was open. And his parents were dead. There was blood all over their bed. And he knew that they would be coming for him. So he ran out of the house. And he ran as fast as he could. And he got his bike. And he rode down to the payphone. And he called the cell phone numbers that they had given him. And they told him exactly what to do and where to go. And they had left a ticket for him at the bus station that would get him to the airport, that would get him to where they were. So he rode his bike as fast as he could. He made no noise when he left the house. And he rode to the bus station, he took the bus, he got to the airport, and by now it was almost dawn. And he got his ticket. And all this time the adrenaline and the fear had driven him. But when he finally got on the plane, he realized that his parents were dead and that he was never going to see this town again or his family and then what had happened. And they flew to New York to be with his friend Jupiter and his family. And when he got to New York, they picked him up at the airport and they took him to their flat and they explained what had happened. Yeah. They're vampire hunters and people who are called on to deal with supernatural things. But they had gotten well known now, and so they were a target at this point. That's why they left California and moved to Florida. And now that Jupiter had seen them, now he was a target. Because once they've seen you, they will always be able to find you. Yeah. Once they've smelled you, you know. Yeah. And so they said, now you have to know everything, how to deal with them, how to fight them, and how to protect yourself. And so and we tried to pull you from your parents, but there's no way, parents, and we're sorry they're dead and that kind of thing. And they held him and they took care of him. And then they became his family. And they told Fred, they had never told Jupiter either, so they told the boys what the deal was. And so from then on, Fred and Jupiter lived together and had many adventures, studying the supernatural and taking care of problems. Haunted houses, all kinds of stuff. Not always bad things, but just that's what they did. And even when they were men together, that was their business.
Wow.
So that's the end of chapter 1, or whatever, or volume 1.
That's really cool.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
I like it. I like them.